Gemini, 6 things that make you shine and that many try to copy, but never can. Gemini, do you ever wonder why people try to imitate you but never quite succeed? Why your words echo long after you've left the room? Why others mimic your ideas, your style, your energy, but still can't recreate your spark? It's because your brilliance isn't just in what you say or how you move, it's in how you see. Your mind is lightning, your energy contagious. And while some may try to keep up, no one can replicate the inner frequency that fuels your originality. This video is more than a list, it's a mirror. A moment of remembering who you are beneath the roles and expectations. Gemini, your uniqueness isn't random, it's cosmic design. Mercury gifted you with dual perception, quick wit, and a magnetic adaptability that turns any space into your playground. But it's also made you a target of admiration, and yes, quiet envy. I'm Elizabeth, your guide here at Esoteric Wisdom. As an astrologer and psychologist, I've seen how Gemini radiates in a way the world craves, but can't decode. This is your invitation to reclaim your light without apology. If you've ever felt both loved and misunderstood, celebrated yet quietly copied, stay with me. Because the next few minutes will show you why you don't just shine, you ignite. Chapter 1. Your mind is a weapon, but your intuition is the flame. Gemini, everyone knows your mind is sharp, razor sharp. You see connections others miss. You finish sentences before they're spoken. You walk into a room, and without even trying, you become the one everyone wants to impress, to emulate, to understand. But here's the truth most people don't see. What really sets you apart isn't just intelligence. It's insight. It's the way your intuition lights up before your logic even catches up. Your Mercury mind processes reality in high-speed bursts, but the true brilliance of Gemini lies in your inner fire, that flicker of truth that ignites in your chest before your thoughts can organize it. This chapter of your cosmic evolution is about embracing that fire. You've likely noticed people around you, friends, co-workers, even strangers, trying to borrow your words, your style, your presence. They quote what you said in passing, as if it were scripture. They change their opinions after talking to you. And when they imitate, something's always missing. That missing element? It's your frequency. Because Gemini, your genius isn't rehearsed, it's channeled. Let me tell you about Kendra, a 52-year-old Gemini therapist from Seattle. She had a way of saying things that cut through emotional fog like lightning. Her colleagues began to quote her in sessions. Her students adopted her metaphors. One even tried to launch a course with her frameworks, but it never worked.
Not the same way.
Because Kendra wasn't just speaking knowledge, she was delivering downloads from her own inner source. When I asked how she did it, she smiled and said, "I just feel the truth before I explain it." That's you, Gemini. People think your superpower is versatility, but it's really your synchronicity. You don't just think quickly. You intuitively time your insights with precision. Mercury, your ruling planet, isn't just the god of communication. It's the messenger between realms. You live between thought and spirit, between logic and vibe. And in today's world of algorithms and artificial connections, that's what makes you irreplaceable. Astrologically, Mercury is moving into a position that activates your intuitive gifts more strongly than usual. When Mercury dances with Uranus or Neptune, you might experience more prophetic dreams, spontaneous ideas, or a knowing that seems to appear from nowhere. That's not coincidence, that's calibration. Your mind is syncing with your soul. But here's the shadow side. When you doubt that fire, when you second-guess your intuition or outsource your knowing to what's trending, you dim your magic. You become a mimic of your own past brilliance instead of a messenger of what wants to come through you now. That's what many people miss about Gemini. Yes, you're flexible, but you're also fiercely original when you trust your flow. People copy what they see, your jokes, your look, your charm. But what they can't copy is what you feel before you even understand it. That flash of knowing? That's divine intelligence, not mental trivia. Gemini, in this season of your life, the stars are inviting you to step into your inner oracle. Start trusting the timing of your instincts. Start honoring the idea that comes out of nowhere. Stop needing every insight to be backed by proof before you speak it. Because when you do, when you combine your rapid-fire mind with that untamed intuition, you don't just shine. You ignite entire rooms. Try this. Journal every intuitive hit you get for 1 week, even if it makes no sense. Notice who mimics you, and ask yourself, what are they trying to access that you already live? Practice speaking before you edit. Let your first thought be the truth, not the draft. Because the real Gemini legacy isn't about being clever. It's about being clear. You're not here to echo others. You're here to be the channel that delivers the messages no one else can hear. And when you do that, you'll realize that your most powerful ideas aren't the ones you analyze. They're the ones that arrive like lightning and leave the world forever changed. You don't need to shout to be heard, Gemini. You just need to trust the voice that whispers first. Chapter 2. Your voice doesn't echo. It rewrites the room. Gemini, you've probably noticed it by now. You don't just speak, you shift. Your words rearrange energy. You walk into a conversation and, without effort, redirect its flow. Not because you're trying to dominate or impress, but because the frequency of your voice naturally draws people in. This is one of your most powerful gifts, and also one of the most misunderstood. You were born under the sign ruled by Mercury, the cosmic communicator. But this influence goes far beyond just being good with words. Mercury gave you a multidimensional voice, one that can soothe tension, spark ideas, disrupt old narratives, and crack open someone's denial with a single sentence. That's why, when you speak, people listen, even if they pretend not to. But here's where things get tricky. Because your energy is so impactful, many have tried to replicate your style. They borrow your phrasing, repeat your insights, copy your cadence. But what they miss, every time, is your frequency. Because, Gemini, what makes you magnetic isn't just what you say. It's how you hold energy when you say it. Let me tell you about Lorenzo, a 60-year-old Gemini community leader from Chicago. He had this effortless way of making people feel heard, even when he was the one doing most of the talking. He could deliver hard truths without triggering defense. He once told me, "It's not about being clever, it's about listening to the underneath of what's not being said." That's your real gift. You speak between the lines. You don't just respond to people, you respond to their energy. And that's something no one can imitate. In the coming weeks, cosmic patterns involving Mercury, Chiron, and the Moon are activating your throat chakra, the spiritual center of expression. This may bring up moments where you're asked to speak your truth more boldly than before. Not just about opinions, but about values, integrity, boundaries, identity. You might feel your voice trembling. You might worry, what if this changes how people see me?
And it might.
But here's the truth. Your soul didn't come here to be liked. It came to liberate. And liberation starts with the voice. There may be someone around you who's been silently copying your insights, trying to walk your path with borrowed words. That can sting, can it? Not because you're possessive, but because deep down, you know that some messages are sacred. You lived them. You birthed them. And watching someone else deliver them without depth feels like betrayal. But Gemini, here's where you must rise above. Because your gift isn't finite. You're not a cup others can drain. You're a spring. The more you speak from truth, the more your creativity regenerates. You will never run out of ideas. But they will lose power if you start tailoring them for applause instead of authenticity. So, how do you protect your gift? Start by honoring the sacredness of your voice. Speak when it matters. Rest when it doesn't. Don't rush to explain to those committed to misunderstanding you. And if someone steals your words, let them. Because while they might echo your message, they'll never recreate your presence. And presence, yours, is everything. Remember, the voice of Gemini is not just verbal. It's in your eyes, your timing, your silence. Your pauses are as powerful as your metaphors. And when you finally decide to stop diluting yourself for comfort's sake, you'll realize something profound. Your voice doesn't need permission to land. It simply resonates, whether they're ready or not. So use it. Speak the truth your younger self needed to hear. Say what others are too afraid to name. Bless with your words. Burn with them, too, if the moment requires. The most unforgettable voices in history weren't always the loudest. They were the most aligned. Gemini, you don't echo. You rewrite the room. And your next chapter begins with the words, "I will not silence myself to keep others comfortable." Say it. Mean it. Watch everything around you shift. Chapter 3. Your duality is not confusion. It's cosmic strategy. Gemini, people often call you two-faced or indecisive. They whisper about your shifting moods, your changing opinions, your ability to play both sides of a conversation. What they don't understand is that what they mistake for contradiction is actually your greatest gift. Your duality isn't a flaw, it's divine design. You weren't made to live in a single lane. You were born to walk both sides of the river and still return dry. You are the only sign that can hold light and shadow, truth and paradox, and still find beauty in both. And while others cling to certainty like a lifeline, you're not afraid to live in the questions. This cosmic flexibility is ruled by Mercury, the planet of change, thought, and translation. Mercury doesn't stay still. It doesn't belong to one world. It travels between. And so do you. In the current astrological climate, Mercury is dancing with Pluto, planet of truth, transformation, and what lies beneath. This transit is stirring something ancient in you, a pressure to choose between comfort and evolution. But here's what's different now. The universe isn't asking you to be someone else. It's asking you to become all of yourself. Let me share the story of Noelle, a Gemini life coach in her late 40s. For years, she struggled to present a consistent brand. Should she be the intuitive healer or the business strategist? Should she wear crystal beads or a blazer? Her mentors told her she had to pick a lane. But every time she tried to narrow herself, she dimmed. She lost clients, lost joy. Until one day, she stopped choosing and started integrating. She led with both. She built a program that blended feminine energy work with masculine structure. Within a year, she quadrupled her income and finally felt seen. That's what happens when Gemini stops performing and starts owning. You are not meant to fit a mold. You're here to break binaries. Male/female. Logic/intuition. Order/chaos. You carry the in-between, and that's why people don't know how to label you. And that's exactly why they try to copy you. Because they see you embodying the contradiction they've been taught to suppress. They see you say, "I feel this and I believe that," and somehow make it all make sense. They watch your comfort in change and think, how do they do that? But what they don't see is the price of that gift. They don't see the nights when your mind races with a dozen truths. The isolation of being too complex for simple categories. The frustration of being misunderstood because you dared to be multifaceted in a world addicted to black and white. And yet, Gemini, you keep shining. You shine because you adapt, not to survive, but to transcend. You shine because your flexibility is rooted in a deeper knowing that change isn't betrayal, it's birth. Right now, you may be facing a decision that asks you to pick one version of yourself. Maybe someone's asking you to commit to a relationship, an identity, a path that feels too narrow. Maybe you're tempted to say yes just to be understood. But please don't. You don't have to fracture yourself to be loved. You don't have to simplify your soul for someone else's comfort. What makes you exceptional is your ability to contain multitudes. And yes, this makes you harder to replicate. It's why others copy your style, but not your substance. Why they adopt your words, but not your rhythm. Why they mimic your choices, but still get lost trying to embody your freedom. So here's your call now. Stop trying to resolve your duality. Start channeling it. When you feel torn, don't rush to decide. Integrate. When you feel too much, remember, you're just whole. When someone says, "You've changed," respond, "I was always this. You're just seeing the rest now." This isn't the season to shrink. It's the season to reveal. Because the more you let the world see your whole self, the thinker and the dreamer, the wanderer and the homebody, the teacher and the rebel, the more others remember it's safe to do the same. Gemini, you are not the contradiction. You are the bridge. And in a divided world, that's the most sacred role of all. Chapter 4. Your curiosity is a compass, not a distraction. Gemini, how many times have you been told you're scattered? That you lack focus? That you jump from idea to idea without finishing what you start? People say it as if curiosity were a crime. As if being interested in everything means you're loyal to nothing. But they're wrong. Your curiosity is not a distraction. It's a compass. It's how your soul maps the terrain of possibility. You don't follow a straight line because your path was never meant to be linear. You're here to weave, to gather, to explore. And what may look like chaos to others is actually a master design, unfolding in perfect time. Right now, the stars are activating that inner compass with a precision you haven't felt in a long while. Mercury is in dynamic aspect to Jupiter. Your curiosity is being amplified. But unlike before, this isn't a scattered curiosity. This is strategic soul-searching. The universe is asking, what pulls at your attention again and again? Not because you're distracted, but because your destiny lives there. Let me tell you about Silas, a 39-year-old Gemini photographer in New Mexico. For years, he chased passion projects, travel, architecture, wildlife, weddings. He was criticized for never choosing a niche, but he couldn't help it. Each subject called him. He followed each with full heart, and slowly, a pattern emerged. All his photos carried one unifying theme: moments of awe, wonder, transition. Today, he's one of the most sought-after transformational event photographers in the Southwest. Not because he picked a lane, but because he followed the thread of truth through everything that lit him up. That's your medicine, Gemini. You aren't here to do one thing. You're here to synthesize many things into something only you can offer. The artist-engineer, the philosopher-comedian, the healer-scientist. You are the collider of categories, and that's why people try to mimic you. But imitation always falls flat when it's disconnected from source. They might copy your interests, your format, your vocabulary, but without your core, your why, they get lost. Because while you follow curiosity, they follow aesthetics. They see the movement, they miss the meaning. And meaning is what anchors your magic. This is why it's so important right now to get clear on which curiosity is calling your future forward. Not every shiny thought deserves your time. Not every message deserves your voice. But the ones that won't leave you alone, that show up in your dreams, your conversations, the books you keep rereading, those are soul maps. And you need to follow them. Try this for 1 week. Write down what catches your attention each day. Not what you planned, but what lit something inside you. Ask yourself, what's the pattern behind these impulses? Where is life inviting me to go deeper, not just wider? Because Gemini, mastery isn't about narrowing your interests. It's about choosing which thread to weave with full awareness. Curiosity guided by presence becomes intuition in motion. And when you honor it, you become unstoppable. The challenge, of course, is that others won't always understand. They'll say, "You're changing again?" Or "Didn't you just start something new?" And they'll say it with judgment. But hear me, Gemini, their judgment is a reflection of their fear, not your truth. Most people need the safety of repetition. But you came here to evolve visibly, to let your becoming be messy, beautiful, alive. When others try to copy you, what they often seek is your freedom. But they don't realize that freedom isn't a brand, it's a brave practice. It takes courage to let your curiosity lead. It takes faith to trust that your nonlinear path is still sacred. It takes strength to begin again and still know who you are. So the next time you feel pulled towards something unexpected, follow it. When your energy shifts, trust it. When an old interest resurfaces, listen. Because that might not be distraction. That might be direction. And Gemini, when you follow that inner compass without apology, your life becomes art. Not a product, not a performance, but a living, breathing masterpiece in motion. You don't need to choose between curiosity and purpose. Your curiosity is how your purpose finds you. Chapter 5. You don't fit in because you were born to illuminate. Gemini, let's get honest. You've probably spent a lifetime wondering, why can't I just stay in one place, one job, one identity, one rhythm? You've watched others plant roots while you chase air. You've tried, more than once, to settle into a role that made others comfortable, that seemed right on paper. But the restlessness returned. The whisper, the wind, the knowing, this isn't all I'm here for. And that's because it isn't. You don't fit in because you were never meant to. You were meant to illuminate. You are the starlight between signs, the flicker between questions, the silence between sentences that holds more truth than 1,000 words. Gemini, you are ruled by Mercury, the messenger. But not just the casual kind. You are the divine courier, the one who carries truths from one world into another. And right now, your soul is being asked, are you ready to fully accept this role? Because here's what most don't realize. Being a channel for light means walking into rooms where no one understands your language, yet. It means seeing connections where others see chaos. It means being misunderstood before you're admired. Copied after you've moved on. Dismissed while you're still in the process of creating the next version of what everyone else will soon try to replicate. Let me share the story of Trish, a 63-year-old Gemini who worked as an editor for decades. She was brilliant, but always behind the scenes, watching others get credit for the ideas she helped shape. She was the ghostwriter, the quiet coach, the you should say it this way genius no one ever quoted directly. Until one day, during a writing retreat, she took the mic. Her voice was trembling, but her words burned with clarity. And something happened. The room went still.
People cried.
They quoted her exact words later, not because they were catchy, but because they were truth. And for the first time, she felt what it meant to illuminate instead of just polish others' light. Gemini, this is what the cosmos is preparing you for now. To step into the spotlight, not to perform, but to reveal. To stop hiding your complexity in service of simplicity. To stop minimizing your depth because others only see your surface. There's a reason people try to copy you. It's not just the way you dress, speak, or move through space. It's the frequency you carry. You have that rare essence of someone who remembers what the world has forgotten, that we are meant to change. That evolution isn't instability, it's integrity. That becoming many versions of yourself is not a lack of identity, it's a refusal to betray your soul. So, what if you don't fit in? Neither did the fireflies. Neither did the stars. You are here to be seen, yes, but more than that, you are here to reflect light. To remind others what's possible when we stop dimming to be digestible. When we stop explaining our shifts and start embodying them. The astrology of this season is demanding honesty. With Mercury in conversation with Saturn, your voice is being tested not just for eloquence, but for alignment. Are you speaking from your mask or from your marrow? Are you expressing ideas that keep people liking you, or ideas that wake them up? Because the world doesn't need another Gemini who fits the mold. It needs the Gemini who shatters it. And yes, that's going to be uncomfortable. People may fall away. Projects may close. Versions of you that were convenient, but false, will ask to be buried. Let them go. Because what rises in their place is the version of you that was never meant to be explained, only felt. The version that knows, I don't need to be the loudest, the smartest, or the most liked. I just need to be true. Gemini, this is your permission slip to stop waiting for the world to understand you before you let yourself shine. This is your calling to illuminate without apology. To be the mirror others didn't know they needed. To be the voice that speaks what the room is too afraid to say. To be the one who carries the message and the medicine. And when you do,
You don't just shine.
you awaken. Conclusion. Gemini, your light was never meant to be dim. Gemini, you've spent a lifetime being asked to tone it down, to stay consistent, to choose one lane and stick to it. But what if the very things you've been told to hide, your changeability, your curiosity, your duality, are exactly what make you shine? What if the parts of you that feel too much are actually the keys to your unique brilliance? This journey has never been about fitting in. It's about remembering that you were born to illuminate spaces others couldn't even see. You've always been a messenger, a bridge between ideas, between people, between realms. And now, more than ever, the world doesn't need another perfect persona. It needs the truth you've been carrying all along. So, as you stand at this turning point, ask yourself honestly, are you still shrinking to make others comfortable? Are you still dimming parts of yourself in the hope of being more palatable, more relatable, more accepted? Or are you finally ready to step into the full power of your complexity, not as something to be explained, but as something to be lived? You don't owe the world a simplified version of yourself. What you owe to yourself, to your purpose, to the people quietly watching and waiting for permission to do the same, is the courage to be whole. Because when you stop hiding, you don't just find freedom. You become it for others. Let this be the moment you stop apologizing for being everything you are. Not later.
Not someday. Now.
And in choosing that, you begin a new kind of legacy, one rooted not in being understood by all, but in being completely true to yourself. And that, Gemini, is a light no one can copy.